Amar Rava, right there. Okay. So if we all remember, we were discussing the question of whether simanin or signs, identifying signs, are Torah law or rabbinic law. And if they were, meaning, did the Torah say that this works and therefore this object belongs to this person who identifies with signs? Or did the Torah say, no, those really don't work, but the rabbis just said that, it should work? And the difference would be is that if they're not according to Torah law, you would not return a get, a bill of divorce, to someone who identifies it, because the rabbis, although they have the power to take away someone's money, they do not have the power to take away, to give it to a woman, which proving that she's divorced when she's actually not.
What? I missed what. If you find a get?
If you find a lost get, which the matter is not money, the matter is whether the woman is still married or not, then the rabbis don't have that power. So you can't return it to the person who identifies it because the rabbis don't have that power. It's not a matter of money. If you say there was a hole next to some letter in this get, it doesn't matter if it's an identifying mark because that doesn't work according to Torah law.
So you can't return it to her and she's no longer divorced?
No, you just can't prove anything. You can't return it to the man or the woman, whoever. You can't use a sign. You can't use a sign.
Forget.
You can use a witness,
Right.
but you can't use a sign.
Wow.
But she's not divorced yet because
She
it's still
can't.
in the process. It's
Right.
not going.
So Amar Rava. Rava says, Im timtza lo omar simanin lav deraisa. Suppose we use the possibility that a sign is not deraisa, it's only rabbinic. Why did the rabbis come up and say that we should return a lost article with signs? Why would they do such a thing? Rabbis need a reason. They can't just say, your money is this, your money belongs to this guy. They need a reason. The Nichale says, maybe, the Nichale lemotse aveda the neheder b'simanin. It's good if you find a lost article, it's good for you. Why is this good for you? You find a lost article and you found a brand new laptop. Doesn't have a name on it. There's a sign on it, but you found a brand new laptop. It's good for you. Why? It says no. It's better for you to return it. Why is that? Because he thinks to himself the society reason that, well, if I return it to him, then if I ever lose something, he'll return it to me. And therefore, the rabbi said, this is good for people, meaning the whole societal contract. It's like Darwin's theory almost in the Gemara. Altruism is good because if I'm good to you, then I think eventually you'll be good to me. Now, Amar Le Rav Safra, the Rabbi says, Rav Safra says, no, I disagree with that. Says, are you telling me, Rav Safra says, that you have money in your hands right now? And you're saying, all right, I'm going to purchase this altruistic, something through giving up a laptop, through giving up something expensive. You're telling me so you're telling me the rabbis made this because the person who found the lost article is so happy to be doing it. No, he's not. He's spitting at the rabbis. He's saying, what are you doing? I found this beautiful laptop that according to Torah law is mine. The Torah says I can keep it, and now you're just coming along and telling me what's good for me?
That's the problem.
That's the problem. So the rabbis say, so he says, okay. So the rabbi says, fine, maybe that's not a good reason. Now, again, to clarify here, the point is that the rabbis need a reason. That's really good for a person to be able that siman and that you can identify something with signs. So this is not a good enough reason.
How about the reason that the Torah tells you to do it? What more reason that you need?
No. So the Torah says to return a lost object.
Yeah.
But the Torah, we're trying to figure out how do you return that. So if witnesses come and say that this thing belongs to, like, we know that laptop is Gabriel's because we saw him use it every day. With that, we know that that's his. You got to return it. But the question is signs.
Yeah.
The signs. Do signs work?
Not that this is a rationale, but in a way, a sign acts as a witness, even though it's not a person.
Not according to this. Not according to this side in the Gemara. However, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. We're going to actually discuss that a little bit later.
We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to that. Yes. So rather, so the Torah tells you to do it, but the question is, are signs a thing? So obviously, I mean, I think we would all agree, if we found the laptop and someone just said, "Hey, that's mine," and they without any proof, it's not necessarily the moral thing to give it back to them, is it?
Right.
You know, Torah never says to do that. I mean, maybe he says like, "Hey, that's mine." How do you know? Maybe you're giving someone a laptop and you're giving them someone else's sensitive files. You got to make sure you found the right one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's according to the Torah too. That's just as much of a value as returning it. So Rav Safra says it doesn't like that. That's not a good enough reason to institute signs. That this altruistic reason, because not necessarily are people happy with that. It's good for him. Obviously, it's good for the person who lost it. Meaning, right, it might not be good for the person who found it, but it's good for the person who lost it. It's good for the person who lost it to give signs and to take it, because Meida Yada the Edim Leslay, he knows that there are no witnesses. Umema Amar, he says to himself, Kuli Amala Yadi Simanim Mufakim Dida. No one else knows the signs that are within the object. And I will give the signs and I will take it. So the reason why the rabbis instituted signs, not because it's good for the finder, but because it's good for the guy who owns it. It's good for everyone else, the majority of the people who lose it, for them to give signs. So Rava was trying to say it's even good. It's even good for the person who finds it. Rav says no, that's not the reason. The rabbi said they made the decree that signs work because it's good for the person who lost the object. Obviously, that's the reason. That's the legal rationale. Ella, yes, Ella, we're in agreement. Good. Ella haditnan. But there's a Mishnah. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, Echad elovu mishlosha yachzir lelova, shlosha shalovu min echad yachzir lemalve. If there is one borrower who if you write out a loan, and in the document of loan, one borrower borrowed from 3 lenders, then you have to return it to the borrower. You have to return it to the borrower. One borrower from 3 lenders, you have to return it to the borrower.
Who said this, Rabbi?
That's the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Yes.
We learned about him yesterday, right?
Yes. So he's not only an expert in ethics,
That's right.
he's an expert in lost objects.
That's right.
3 people, however, 3 borrowers that borrow from one, they have to return to the lender. You have to return it to the lender. So wait a minute. Nicha leila lova latura leila malbe. Says, wait a minute. It says, you're telling me that we're doing this, that we can return it to the lender without. Well, what about the lova? Is it really the good thing from the person who found the lost object? Is it really a good thing for the lova? Because remember, if the lova owns the shtar, he doesn't have to pay anymore.
Second.
If the borrower owns the document, he doesn't have to pay anymore. Obviously, if the lender has the document, the borrower still has to pay.
Right, like if you buy a car and your person who owns has whoever you bought it from, the loan,
Right, the
person who's
note.
holding the note,
Yes,
it's not.
If he loses the note, then I
Exactly.
don't owe him anything.
That's not
That'd be
necessarily
nice.
true.
exactly. So
No.
now we're saying like,
I
oh,
really don't know.
It doesn't.
no, well, something like that. But now we're saying, oh, it's so good for people that they should give signs and take it. But now, when in this case, it can only belong to one of 2. It's a special case. Is it good for the borrower that the malva can come in and say, I have a sign on the document and come take it? Of course it's not good. The lova is going to have to pay. So how can this possibly
Or
work?
good or bad, it's the way it was supposed to be.
Right. So Martin's pointing out something good here. It's, you're right. It is a special
Under
case
contract,
of like it could belong to one of 2. But if we're looking on whether people are happy or not, is it really the good thing for the lova meaning, again, so according to Torah law, if we're going according to the assumption that according to Torah law, signs don't work, the lova might be breathing a sigh of relief and go, phew, doesn't work. I already paid it, maybe, I already paid it, now I don't have to pay it again. But now we're saying that the Malva can use signs, the borrower is not happy. So if the rabbis are making this for the good of everybody,
Yeah,
Lova's not happy. At least half of the people are not happy here. You know.
yeah.
So what, Matt? Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, but what you're happy with depends on your disposition.
Right.
So when you're making laws, again,
Mhm.
laws are the worst. I mean, look, that's why the founding fathers knew that what makes a person happy is not
What
going to
I'm
be
saying,
the people,
in the long run, if you do the thing that is right in the long run, then, unless the person's Russia, then the person will be happier in the long run, but will not necessarily be happier, with the immediate consequences. I mean,
Right.
it loses that, but
So
spiritually,
So maybe the rabbis could have just easily said, in cases where you find the documents, signs don't work. But here we have a case where people are not going to be happy. At least half of the people. Maybe there you could say that most people who are losing things, and most people are losing things more than finding things. Most people, they're going to be happy. But here, how can we do this to the Lova? How can the rabbis just take one side over another? So they answered, no. That has nothing to do with signs. Hasam Savarahu. Hasam, it's just a logical common sense. Echad alova mishlosha. If one guy borrows from 3, yachzir lalova, you return it to the borrower because usually the document is in the hands of the borrower. The gabe lova shchichi. Because that's usually why when there's 3 lenders and there's one borrower, it's usually in the hands of the borrower. And the same thing in Gabi Malva Lo Shchichi, the lender doesn't have it. Shema Mina Malva Nafel. Echad Alov Mishal Yachz Alov Et Gabi Lo Shchichi Gabi Malva Lo Shchichi. Shema Mina Milova Nafel. Meaning, if the borrower usually has the document, if one borrows from 3, then you can return it to the borrower. Shlosha Shalova Me'echad. If 3 borrows from one lender, Yachzir Lamalva, you can return it to the lender. Gabe Malva Shchichi, Gabe Lova Lo Shchichi. So if it's 1 borrowing from 3 or 3 borrowing from 1, it's usually the document is in the hands of the 1. So, because, I'm guessing that, I'm a little just wondering how the legalities turn into here. Maybe they would put it into give it to a third party or something. I'm not quite sure what Kamar is pointing out here.
I wonder if the borrower, though, if he borrowed from 3, and it's one borrower, if there was some kind of dispute, he would know who he borrowed from.
Right? Yeah. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it goes back to the borrower. Like, if he borrowed it, it's not his, permanently, right? But if there was some kind of dispute, like, he knows who he borrowed from, which of the 3.
No, he borrowed from all 3.
Oh.
Borrowed from all 3. So usually, if one guy borrows from 3, chances are, I guess maybe the Gemara is pointing out that he'll be quick to pay it back. He'll be quick to pay it back. He'll be quick to pay it back. And also, if there's only one lender, but 3 borrowers, usually the lender will be the one holding on to it. Okay. So apparently that was the case. So the point, again, from this is that you don't need signs in that case. There might be a case where you have a lost object that could belong to one of 2 people, but if it's likely that that usually it's always found in the hands of this person rather than the other person. So I don't know if you have a certain laptop that they gave out in a class, and you always return the laptop at the end of class, and you use your laptop, and it fell, and the teacher says, hey, the school says, hey, that belongs to us, and the guy says, no, that belongs to me. I get it usually after the class, or is that if there's two cases and one it's more likely by another person, then you won't even need signs. You could just return it. So, which doesn't again help us by a bill of divorce, because it's not likely in either one hand or the other. All right, so
It goes to the woman.
right, but a man could be holding it,
Until it's finished.
until it's finished, or it might be in the hand of the beis din.
Oh.
You don't know. So Ella Haditnan, next page. Right, we're about to finish this in 3 lines. Ella Haditnan, Matzah Tachrish Shoshtars Vagudo Shoshtars Hareze Yachzir. But it says, wait a minute. We have a Mishnah that says if you find a bundle or of stars, of loan documents, you have to return them. Hachinami denichale la lova la durale la malva. It says you have to return it to the lender. It says, wait a minute. So this isn't a case of 1 borrowing from 3 or 3 borrowing from 1, where it's likely in one hand to the other. It says you return it to whoever has the sign. Rashi points out. So he says, so this is clearly like, wait a minute. So you're telling me the rabbis made the decree that it's to make everybody happy? But wait a minute. This is really good thing for the lova that you return it to the malva with signs. The lova, the borrower, to return it to the lender with signs. So Ella Amar Rava Siman Deraisa. So, all right, you're right. The rabbis wouldn't get involved in this because it's really not a good thing with signs. Not a good thing for everybody. Really, simanin are Torah. Simanin work according to Torah law. So we tried for the last 15 lines to prove that it was rabbinic, but now we failed. We failed, and now simanin work according to Torah law, which means if a woman gives a sign that the get is hers, simanin signs work. If a man gives the sign that the sign that the get is hers, you give it to the man.
I'd like if you could explain a little bit better how the rabbis are trying to redefine Torah law and make it a rabbinic law. And then
So
when they failed to do that, they said, "Okay,
No.
it is Torah law."
No. The Gemara was trying to prove, because the Gemara didn't know, are signs rabbinic or signs Torah?
They were trying to prove that point.
They were trying to prove it was rabbinic, and they said, well, and then because it's rabbinic, and so why would they make this such a thing? Because it's a good thing. It's a good thing for people.
Right.
So then we prove from the Mishnah that it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might have cases where borrowers and lenders, and you might return it to lenders when the law borrower's going, what are you doing, rabbis? You're taking away my money. I paid him already. Now he's gonna get it back again. So rather than right, I know, totally. So the Gemara says, you're right, we failed to show that signs are rabbinic, signs are Torah law. Signs are good according to Torah law. So Dichsiv, and they're going to prove it from a verse. V'haya imcha adetirosh achicha oso. It says in the Torah that you should have a lost object with you until your brother seeks it. Ask the Gemara, hey, wait a minute. Would you think that you should give it before he seeks it? So why does it say that you should wait until your brother seeks it? Rather, you check him out and make sure that he's not a trickster. And how do you check him out? With signs. Now, the Gemara on the previous page
That's
said...
a circular argument. We're back to where we started.
Because in the last page it said, hey, but maybe that was with witnesses. Maybe you have to check with witnesses. So the Gemara apparently is...
No divorce.
It makes sense to me.
I mean, he says that...
So you divorce, we have big trouble.
No, apparently though, however, it does make, we're going to talk lots more about
I
divorce
don't
here.
see why we're giving the get back to the man if the man says.
Yeah,
it
men
belongs
all
to the
time
woman.
okay, say
Why do we
divorce
give
for
the get
woman.
back
to the
Woman
man?
no good.
Well, the
It
man
should
might...
go to the woman.
If the man
Otherwise-
says it belongs to the woman, they give it back to the woman. But
I heard you say something else. So
Oh, pardon me. So I think actually the verse makes more sense. I mean, people can disagree with me because it says you have to make sure. Aderosh achicha oso, until your brother seeks it, not witnesses. Maybe so. The Gemara said before it applies to witnesses, but I think it's more even direct that the one who lost it is the only one doing it. It just seems to make more sense within the verse. Regardless, the Gemara doesn't have any other choice because, again, it seems to be very clear that signs are Torah law, not rabbinic law. So they brought in the verse, and again, it seems to make more sense that it's talking about that the only person seeking it is the person who lost it.
Yeah, the context doesn't include other people.
Other people.
So then logically you have to say, well, how do you determine whether it's that person's or not? And then so what do you do? I mean,
We're back to science.
Yeah.
We're back to science. Exactly.
All right,
Okay.
so this sets up a precedent, Rabbi.
Yes.
The precedent is if rabbis that are in the Gemara, if they don't agree, that means that it's Torah law. And this sets up a precedent for other cases. If they don't agree, they don't find an agreement, they just have to go back to Torah law, and it's Torah law. It cannot be rabbinic.
In a case where there are lots of arguments in the Talmud about whether things are rabbinic or Torah law.
Okay.
So, in some cases, like for instance, the most famous one I like to quote is chicken meat. It's chicken according to, actually we do paskin that chicken is only meat rabbinically.
Mm-hmm.
So according to Torah law, you can have a chicken cheeseburger.
Right.
Thank God.
So Rabbi Yossi Aglili, in fact, in his town, he said it was completely permitted to have a chicken cheeseburger. And then he had to, lose the argument, and therefore the Rabbi Yossi, we don't have any Galileans now from Rabbi Yossi Aglili keeping that tradition alive. So,
No one dare starts it back
No
up.
dare.
I think Chick-fil-A still follows that tradition.
Chick-fil-A, hey.
Yeah.
Good. God, the righteous Chick-fil-A. Rabbi Yossi Aglili.
Close on Sunday.
So Amar Rava. The Gemara says that Imtim Saloma Simanin Deraisa. If you tell me that Simanin are according to Torah law, Imtim Salomar Hapashat Le Simanin Deraisa. It says, wait a minute, what do you mean if you say, we know that Simanin are Torah law? Mishum de Ikalim Emar Kedishnina. So we say, no, what he's talking about here is maybe we could say that it's that the verse is talking about witnesses, but so that's why just Rava uses the term "if you could say." But really, he holds that simanin are deraisa. But Rava is basically just saying here, if we're going according to this logic, that the verse just meant signs, and it's according to Torah law. What happens if you have two people, competing people, and this is where it gets fun? Carlos comes up and gives a sign, and Raphael comes up and gives a sign. So, right, on the laptop. So what do you do? Simanin v'simanin yaniach. You put it away. You don't give it to anybody. No one gets it.
Whoa.
No one
Just
gets
cut
it.
it in half.
No one gets it because they don't have any proof.
You offer to break
Raphael
it.
has a sign.
Yeah.
Carlos has a
Do the
sign.
Solomon test.
Can't do it.
I think you should do the
Yeah.
Solomon test.
Except that
Cut
when
it
the
in
person
half.
Cut the computer in half.
you would say, go
Yes,
ahead,
I
let
like
the
it.
other person have it.
Yes,
I'll go ahead
yes.
and
And
break
it's,
it.
of course, the mother-in-law who insists that this is her son-in-law,
Yeah, you
this is her
might.
son-in-law. You
Oh,
cut the son-in-law in
Oh,
half, and the
okay.
one who says that's a good thing is the mother-in-law.
Don't get them.
Okay. Yes, okay.
Oh, that gets
But in this
complicated.
case, it's not.
So what about
That'll be a whole
simanin?
tractate.
All right, guys. All right.
Mother-in-law.
Now here's where it gets fun. Simanin v'edim. If Raphael brings signs and Martin has witnesses, who do you give it to?
Witnesses.
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 Even though simanin are Torah law, you still give it to witnesses.
Witnesses are also Torah law.
Exactly, but you might say,
Trust
"Oh,
the
this
simanin.
one's Torah law, that
Give
one's
him
Torah
mine.
law."
No, I got
Maybe
the
they
witnesses. You have to
cancel
sign.
each other
No,
out.
me.
No.
The answer is
It's
no.
stronger.
You
I
give
know
it to
sign.
That's
witnesses.
mine now.
What if they're false
Your
witnesses?
laptop.
What?
No.
What if you
This is my
bribe
lap.
them to be witnesses?
Well, then it makes sense the process to make sure they tell the truth.
You have to
But
have proof, right?
well,
If they're false witnesses.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the other witnesses can
The,
come.
the witness
to it.
test?
Yes.
Not
Simanin
witness test.
A lot
v'simanin.
of false witnesses recorded in
All right, now
Oh,
here's
really?
funny.
Oh.
unfortunately.
Yes, Gabriel brings signs,
There you
and
go.
Gil brings signs. Simanin ve'ed echad. Gil says, not only do I have signs, I have one witness.
You gotta have two or three.
Eid echad kamata
Not
l'sidami
far off.
v'yaniach. The one witness is like he's not there.
That's
Really?
right.
Like it's not
You
there.
have to do
I
two or three.
Nah,
You
I
have
I
just
thought for
one.
this it was a less.
Yes.
I thought it
So
was just one or two.
For
no,
No,
this.
it's three.
witnesses are two.
Yeah.
So
Wait.
I
But
thought
he
it
has
changes.
simanin.
depending
Wouldn't
on-
that be count
no,
as
both
one
have
witness?
both have simanin.
I know, but he has simanin and one witness. So
Nope.
would the simanin
Nope.
count as a witness?
Nope,
No.
they don't.
So DNA, like what they use today, those are simanin, sort of. So they can't be used. as
DNA on a
witnesses.
laptop.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
DNA on a baby,
Well, in
maybe,
another
right? But
No, finger
Maybe.
DNA.
that's a good question.
Fingerprint
Fingerprints.
What?
Fingerprint
Yeah,
DNA?
that would-
Yeah.
No. Fingerprints are a little.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's very interesting. You find that actually fingerprints are not as high class as we think they are.
It's not as easy to
Things
get as
like
you
that.
get.
So what would you do? You would put it away. I remember asking my Rebbe in 5th grade when we learned this Gemara, but Rebbe, wait a minute, what if someone has 2 witnesses and someone else has 100? Does that work? Yes, and so actually commentators ask that question, and it's all equal. Because 2 witnesses are good according to the Torah, and they just have as much truth as 100. So,
You guys should get ready to go.
wait, we're almost there.
Okay.
80. Oh, what time is it?
It's 9:21.
All right, we can do it. 80.
Oh,
It's
gosh.
at 9:53. 80 Ariga, 80 in the
The bus
fila.
leaves at
I guess the
9:52.
rabbi's driving him to
Yeah.
Memphis.
Not to Memphis.
Oh, I
It
get-
only takes 10 minutes.
Not to Memphis?
To the bus stop.
10,
Yeah.
15.
I'm saying if you miss the bus, you're driving to Memphis.
You better hurry.
Okay. 80 Ariga, 80. All right, everybody, speed. Let's go. Speed, focus. 80 Ariga, 80 in the fila. Suppose on the get. Suppose on the bill of divorce, you have witnesses of the person who you have witnesses of the person who made the document and said it belongs to this guy. It belongs to the person who wove the document. And you say no, I witness, and the other person has witnesses that says the document fell from this person. Those might be 2 different people. You give it to, or excuse me, not necessarily a divorce, but a document. You give it to the witnesses of the person. You give it to the man who has the witnesses that it fell from him. Why? He might have sold the shtar, the bill of loan, to someone else, and it fell from him. So this is the most recent, meaning the witnesses who saw it fall, from this fellow, you give it to that fellow because it's the most recent. He might have sold it.
Chain of custody or something.
Exactly.
Oh,
Midas arco, midas rachbo. If one guy says, witnesses say, or some guy gives signs that the shtar was this long, and one guy says the shtar was this wide, tinasin lemidas arco. You give it to the length shtar. You give it to the one who sieves you give it to its length. The midas rachbo shiur kamishayla. He might have been just estimating or guessing it. Kad machasi lamara. Like if you found a talus, you can maybe guess the width, but the length, it's on your head and a little bit. It's a little more difficult to guess. So therefore, length. The length is the better sign. Midas akar lo mishtayr, you don't estimate that. Midas arko, midas rachbo, midas gama. Suppose someone says, I know it was this long and this wide, and some guy says, well, the entire length of the width and the length was this number, but it doesn't know the exact proportions. You give it to the guy who knows the exact proportions. Midas arko, midas bracho, midas mishkalosav. One guy knows the length and the width, and one guy knows the weight. Midas
Oh,
mishkalosav.
boy.
You give it to the guy who knows the weight,
Right.
how much of the object. Who omer, so the laptop, how long it is, how wide it is, you give it to the one who knows the weight. The weight one is better.
Close up that.
Who omer simane haget? He omer simane haget. Okay, this is the fun one.
The way
He
you
said, the husband comes and says, hey, that's my get. I didn't give it to her yet. And the wife says, this is my get. And they both give signs. And she gives signs, yinasin la. You give it to her.
Thank God. I was getting a little bit.
Why is that? Why is that?
Yeah.
Because obviously she wouldn't know. The fact that she knows the signs is proof that she
Right.
got it.
Yes.
Oh,
I was trying to be
That's
tricky though.
Be my, but with what? Ilem abunidas arko barachbo. If you're telling me that she's saying the length of the width, dilma bahadi denaket lechazite. Maybe he was holding it and she saw it, and then maybe she didn't get it yet. Ella nekav yeshbo betzados ploni. Rather, they were both saying that there is a hole in the letter beside one letter. And therefore, obviously, a woman wouldn't know that unless she actually received it. What about the little string that goes around the get? And he says this string was red and whatever, and she says gives signs on the string. You give it to her. If you'll say that we're talking about each of them are saying which one are the colors. Meaning she says red, he says red, then it's red. Says that's not a proof. Why is that? Maybe he was holding it and she saw that the string was red, so there's no proof either way. But so Ella b'midas arko, they're talking about midat arko. They're talking about whether how long the string was. So obviously she would have had to get it and unravel it. So she wouldn't know that unless it was hers. If he said this is in the get was in a clay tube. The Hiomeres bechafisa, and she said it was in a clay tube. Nothing low. You give it to him. My time made the yada the chomat isle bechafisa who the manachle, because at the end of the day, she knows that everything that he's going to give it to her in this tube. So that's not a proof. So you just give. Shkoyach. We're going to start the Mishnah next.
Okay,
Man.
man.
What?
I have